Yo, what is going on, guys? Jordy back with another T3 video. Today we are going to be doing a read through of the patch notes. There's a bunch of awesome stuff in here, and this is actually coming out later on tonight. It's going to be super exciting. They're going to go down for maintenance for a little bit, and then when it comes back online, all of this will be in the game, and I'm super excited to jump into it. There's a couple of noteworthy things at the beginning, but we are really just strictly going to be looking at all of the hero changes. So we're going to be scrolling down, kind of checking all of that out. If you do want to check out all of these patch notes for yourself, I did leave a link in the description to this exact form. It's by LazyCaz. It's over on TapTap. You guys can check it out and read through it all. Just a couple of noteworthy things, just real quick before we jump into all of the hero changes. This right here, this specific sentence is actually really, really important. So basically what they're going to do is the next season that comes out, it's not going to be called Season 6. They're basically restarting the game. So at the update time tonight, at later on tonight, whatever it is, that is going to put us into a test season. So that test season is going to last for 3 weeks. As you guys can see right here, it's going to go from the 19th, which technically today's the 18th, but it's the 19th for the developers. So they're going to roll it out at their time, all the way until June 8th. So everyone thought that the next season was going to start on June 1st. That's kind of how the countdown is looking currently in the game. But this season is going to take over. That timer is going to get pushed for about a week. And this little SS0 or Stadium Season 0 is going to be kind of a test duration. So 3 weeks of this. And basically what that means is we're going to kind of have 3 weeks to play with the new stuff. Every hero is going to have a second active ability. There's a ton of changes coming. It's going to be super awesome. Once this little test season kind of ends, we will go into SS1 or Stadium Season 1. Instead of it being called Season 6, they're kind of redoing the counter. So SS1 is coming, and with it, we're going to get a new battle pass, new hero, all that stuff. So we're going to have a little bit of like a delay of this current Season 5 or SS0, and then it'll go back into the normal season rotation just like always. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, dudes, it's gonna be super cool. Definitely read through this if you guys want to learn about ranked, the new trophies and how the trophy system work, a bunch of different changes towards the MVP system, and stuff like that. They kind of give a little bit tidbits. We're getting all of these second abilities for free. You don't have to buy them or anything like that. And they kind of talk about how they want the roles in the game to be a little more specific, actually having a classified role that you play. And one thing I also wanted to note right here, if you have a lone vanguard, so if you are jumping into a game and your team picks one vanguard, you're going to have this lone vanguard blessing buff, which basically grants that one lone vanguard player an additional 20% extra damage mitigation. So they're kind of giving more specific buffs to each of the roles and kind of how the roles play. So you kind of want to focus on like a team comp where you have one vanguard because they're going to be taking less damage. This is especially going to be good with Ruby since her passive also does this, except for 10% when she's in her vicinity of her little defense or of her shields. And so they're just kind of pushing more towards like a role-based game, and it is really cool. Definitely give this a read if you guys haven't checked it out already. But today we're going to go over all of the changes for all of the heroes. I'm going to kind of try to speed through these as fast as I possibly can. I don't want to make this video too long. My last two videos have been pretty long. If you do want to see any of these abilities, of the new abilities in action, I did make a 47-minute video going over all of the new skins coming, as well as all of the new abilities. You can kind of see them all and how they work and stuff. But yeah, we're going to jump through. We're going to check it all out. It's really cool. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. So starting with Mark. Mark, I think, is going to be really, really good. So basically what Mark does now is his main weapon is going up from 25 bullets to 30 bullets. His weapon or his bullet spread is going to have a tighter impact. So instead of a 3, it's going to be a 1.2. So he's going to be more accurate. He's going to have more bullets. His first ability, or his little grenade launcher, goes from 8-second cooldown to a 6-second cooldown. So you're going to be able to shoot that little rocket launcher more frequently. His ultimate ability. So right now, when you activate his ultimate, it like scans in a big vicinity, and it will like target or mark the the enemies, right? They get that little target on them. And currently that allows you to deal 30% more damage to those targets. Well, now it's going to allow you to deal 50% more damage, as you guys can see right here. And then also increases your damage to shields by 150% for 10 seconds. So that's really cool. I think his first ultimate is actually going to be really, really strong. If you guys didn't know, they're taking all of the second ultimates out of the game. They're going to kind of balance them all with this new changes and the new abilities. And then they'll reintroduce the second ultimates. So as of right now, once this goes live, all the second ultimates are going to be completely taken out of the game. So keep that in mind. Whenever I read ultimate ability, it's meaning their first ultimate. So just, for future context when we go through this. As far as Mark's second active ability, he pulls out his little skateboard and he goes faster and then he jumps off of it. Doesn't have a cooldown. You can use it whenever you want. So he's going to be more mobile. He kind of already has that ability in 5v5, but this is also going to be in 3v3. They're equaling the balancing across the entire game. So however you play a hero in 5v5, we'll play the same way in 3v3. So keep that in mind. Christina got a bunch of nerfs. Basically, her explosion range went from 3.5 meters to 2 meters. So whenever her main weapon, whenever those grenades kind of land, they're not going to deal as big of an explosion. So the range is going to be smaller. The damage fall off for those grenades, this got significantly nerfed. So whenever you lob her grenades across the map, the further those travel, the more damage falls off of those grenades. Currently, it's 43% fall off per meter. That's going up to 87.5% fall off per meter. So basically, she's going to be dealing less damage when she lobs those grenades across the map. So more damage fall off. And then this is actually going to be kind of seen throughout the entire thing. You'll see this a lot. So the passive recharge rate, this one is specifically of her first ability. It went from 50 per second to 20 per second. So her little grenades that she throws and sticks to walls, those are going to recharge a little slower. So all around net nerfs, definitely nerfs. Christina's not going to be nearly as strong as she once was. So she definitely took a little bit of a hit here. And then you guys know her second active ability. She basically jumps in a direction. That's pretty much what she does. Aletta. Everyone complains about Aletta, specifically in my Discord. And I actually did ask on my community tab, if you guys remember that, it was a couple of weeks ago. I said, which one of these flankers is the most annoying to play against? And everyone chose Aletta. I think she has like 80% chosen out of like 700 people. So Aletta got nerfed to the ground. Basically, her main weapon damage fall off, the maximum fall off was 30%. Like the damage fell off by 30% at 23 meters. So anything further than 23 meters was dealing 30% less damage. Now, it at anything further than 23 meters does 75% less damage. So her gun is not going to do nearly as much damage from further ranges. You're going to want to play her up close. As far as her bullet spread, they kind of sort of tightened the bullet spread at the front, but then increased the bullet spread at the back. Basically went from 2% to 6%. Now it's 2.4% to 7.2%. So they increased both the minimum and maximum amount of the angle of her bullet spread. And so it's kind of jump around on the higher end, but it's going to be a little tighter on the shorter end, if that makes sense. So, and this is all just going to come down to testing and kind of seeing how it all works. But her bullet spread basically got adjusted. This right here is another line you're going to see quite often. Her ultimate ability, the passive recharge rate went from 70 to 20. Basically, every hero has a value attached to their ultimate. And so over time, the ultimates just increase over time, right? You gain that cooldown as you just are running around. Well, that's actually going to be slower now. So pretty much every hero got this little text change. They're just going to make ultimates charge slower. However, when you deal damage or get kills, that also goes to your damage or to your ultimate charge. So some of those are kind of changed. Like for instance, ultimate ability charge for damaging enemies. It was 1.4 times. Now it is only 1 times. So when she deals damage, she's actually going to charge her ultimate slower as well. Another change to her ultimate is the healing amount. So she was recovering 2% of her health every 0.1 seconds when she activated her ult. Now it doesn't heal you at all. So Aletta cannot heal herself with her ult anymore. On top of all this, her second active ability, which we all know, she kind of does that little recall. That is just going to be kind of pretty much the same as it is currently in 5v5. She relocates or teleports back 3 seconds wherever she was as far as health is concerned. That's what she'll be at. So that's pretty much the same, but Aletta did get quite a bit of a nerf. She's definitely not going to be nearly as strong as she was. So yeah. Next up is Victor. Victor, I think, is going to be really cool. We have a lot to dive in here, so I'm going to kind of go through this pretty quick. But basically, his gun went from 5 ammo to 4. His firing interval, or his fire rate, went from 0.7 seconds per shot to now 0.32 seconds per shot. So he's going to be shooting faster. You can already kind of see this in 5v5 currently. So he had a certain amount of projectiles and a certain amount of damage each of those projectiles did. So they did 140 damage per projectile, which he had 12, for a total of 1,680 damage. Now they do 80 damage per projectile, and there's only 11 projectiles, meaning that it does 880 damage now per shot. So he's going to be shooting faster, he's going to have 1 less bullet, and he's going to be dealing significantly less damage. But I think it's going to make up for it for the fact that he's going to be shooting faster and the fact that he can do a bunch of different things with his other stuff. So his bullet spread, or I guess the damage fall off, basically went from 6 meters at 10% fall off per meter for a maximum fall off of 14 meters. Now it is 15 meters at 4% fall off per meter for a maximum of 30 meters. So basically he can shoot further, and it still does like good amount of damage at that distance. So keep that in mind when you're going in to play Victor. His bullet spread, the angle was tightened. So basically, instead of it being a 7% angle, it's a 2.5% angle. So it's just going to be a little tighter. Therefore, he's going to be kind of more pinpoint accurate, sort of, with his gun. So that's cool. His first active ability, so his dash, he basically, this is what it did. So he quickly dashed forward a certain distance, causing a brief stun to enemies by hitting them with the dash. Now it no longer stuns, but instead it knocks them back a short distance, and you can charge it twice. So in my little test video I did where I kind of went over everyone's abilities, I wasn't able to dash twice with Victor. He still has his 2 dash charges, and they do damage on hit, and then they push people. So that damage is down here, so we'll get to that. So first active ability, the movement distance, he, instead of going 10 meters when he dashes, he now goes 15 meters. So I was correct in my other videos saying that it felt like it went further. The movement duration went from 0.35 seconds to 0.5 seconds. Basically, the animation it takes him to dash is going to take longer by 0.15 seconds. So that makes sense. He's going further, therefore the animation is going to take a little longer. The damage that it deals whenever you hit someone with your dash was doing 300. Now it does 1,000. So he's going to be able to deal a lot of damage when he pushes you. His ultimate is going to cost less. So as you guys can see right here, it went from 4,500 to 4,000. And then also his ultimate's like stun effect whenever he activates his ultimate normally lasted 1 second. Now it's going to last 2.5 seconds. So that's really good. You're going to be able to stun people for longer. His passive recharge rate for his ultimate was 50 charge per second. Now it's only going to be 20 charge per second. So again, that's going to charge slower, but in theory, you're going to get it faster, sort of, just depending on like the math and whatever you're doing with him and stuff. And then his second active ability, we all know what it does. He basically spins his shotgun, mitigates damage, and then when he takes damage while he's in that little spinning shotgun form, it charges his ult. I think he takes like 70% less damage if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty good. His we all know his second active. It's pretty cool. Skatey. So Skatey can still do her little flying maneuver. I don't know if that was patched. There's no notes in here saying otherwise. So she can still do her little Skatey fly thing. However, the only changes to her are for her ultimate. So basically, her ultimate is going to cost less, from 4,000 to 3,200. So you're going to have that ultimate more often. However, the passive charge rate went from 70 to 20. So passively charging slower, but less amount to fully charge it. So they could kind of balance out to make it sort of work similar. So yeah, Skatey, that's all she got. And then she can do her little flip and reload her gun. That's about it. However, you still can do the Skatey flying, like I said. So at least in the test server that I was on, you could still do it. So basically, you do a flip with her second active, and you cancel it by holding her first active, her sticky trap, and it allows you to just jettison yourself forward or in a direction, and you just super jump, basically. So Skatey's going to be a menace, 100%. Some of the new changes that you might have seen on the actual T3 channel is that they did kind of swap some roles of some of the heroes. So Cosmo is now a flanker, and basically he can do a bunch of really fun stuff. So his main weapon explosive damage went from 1,300 to 800, so minus 500 as far as the explosion. However, the main weapon like direct damage went from 300 to 800, so minus 500 here, plus 500 here. For roughly the same damage, you just need to be a little more accurate with his rockets. So, and that's kind of what it talks about here. So the fall off starts at 1 meter according to the radius of the blast, and then decreases by 0.15 per meter. So basically, the fall off, as the explosion got further out, the fall off was greater. Now it's from 0 meters. So you just gotta directly hit them in order to actually get the full like damage from it. So basically, these 3 lines of text say hit your shots with Kazuma, pretty much. His ultimate, his little fly charge thing, got a damage increase from 2,840 up to 3,600. So he's going to be dealing more damage with his ult whenever you directly impact someone. And as for his second ability, he basically can fly for 3 seconds in any direction you choose. Up, down, left, right, all of it. You can fly up into the sky as long as it's, for 3 seconds. You can also cancel yourself to jump out of this, but it's really fun. I think Cosmo is going to be a menace. He's going to be so much fun. You're going to be able to chain his abilities back and forth and just stay in the air forever. He's so much fun. I think Cosmo is going to be really, really good. So Osos pretty much got the same change as Skatey. His ultimate went down from 4,000 cost to 3,200. And passively, it's going to charge from 70 to 20. So slower charge, but less charge required to get it. And he's only going to have his beam. And then, of course, his second ability is that he jumps in the air. And then if you aim down sights while you're in the air, it'll lock him in the air and he'll slowly descend. And you can shoot or whatever. Once you fire that bullet and come out of the scope, he'll just drop. I love Osos, and I love having him being able to jump. And I think it's going to be really, really cool to do a fun, like, little sneaky areas on some of the maps in, like, 3v3 or in, like, Team Deathmatch where you can, like, get some really cool jump kills. I'm probably going to make some sort of compilation with him because Osos is my favorite hero. So, pretty cool. Nothing really crazy, though. Sindri was one of the other role switch, so she went from damage to support. They've got a lot to unpack here. So, her gun's explosive damage went from 400 to 300, so not as much explosive damage. The direct impact hit went from 180 to 150, so less direct impact damage. Her first active ability, so her bot, was at 250 damage. Now it's at 150, so her bot is not going to do nearly as much damage. Her first active ability, so again, her bot, has a new mechanism to it. So basically, both her and her Rage Ball have an area of effect that provides like constant healing. And that radius is 10 meters from her and from her bot. So it has like these circles around them. You can't stack these healing abilities. Sindri's like healing will take over even if your bot's near you. So if you're with your team, you drop your bot, only her healing will take over. If you leave, the bot will still heal anyone in the vicinity of the bot, except it does less healing. That makes sense. You'll heal for 320 per second. And then when you, like, she can also self-heal herself, but it's only 60% of that effect. And you cannot heal your Rage Ball with your ability. So that's really cool. Her second active ability basically puts that healing effect into overdrive, and it will like deal a burst of healing and then gradually like lower back down. So basically you just kind of amp up your healing for a second. And then her ultimate ability cost went from 6,000 to 4,000. So faster ultimates, and she can heal, but initially she does less damage all around. So nerfs, buffs, sort of changes, I would say. But I think Sindri's gonna be really good. All right, as for Jabali, we all know he got a big change from 5v5, how he plays in 5v5 versus how he plays in 3v3. Basically, all of this says that. His gun went from 100 ammo to 4. It's more of a burst fire thing. He has faster reload, all that stuff. That's pretty much what all this says. The things that I will highlight from this, his attack range went from 15 meters to 5. So he's not going to deal nearly as much damage as far as like range is concerned. His main weapon can penetrate through shields. So that's going to be kind of cool. If they have like a fort or even their own Jabali, you're still going to be able to deal main damage with your gun through shields. Some other things, his barrier went from 15,000 HP to 24,000 HP. So he's basically just going to be like a mobile shield pretty much. A couple of other things about his active ability, as far as like the recharge rates whenever your shield breaks and stuff. That's all kind of right here, how many seconds it takes to fully recover your shield. As far as his ultimate is going to cost slightly less, from 6,500 to 6,300. And that first ability where he like spins, it's going to deal more damage per second. So currently it's doing 2,750. After the update, it's going to do 3,300. So like 110 more damage per second or per hit, going from 550 to 660. That increased, that little spin that he does, it increases in range, so it's going to have a bigger radius at 5 meters as opposed to 3. However, you are going to be 1/4 the speed that you currently are. So currently he's pretty quick when he's in his little spin top ability. Now it's going to go down to 0.25 speed, so he's going to be a lot slower when he activates it. However, it's going to deal more damage. And then the passive recharge rate went from 50 to 20. And then his passive ability, this is actually pretty interesting. So his passive, whenever you're near Jabali and that Jabali has his passive, he was giving a 14% like damage buff. Now it's only going to be 7%. So Jabali's just kind of weaker, but also kind of better, sort of. There's just a lot of different changes to him, but I think the passive ability change is pretty harsh. Pretty harsh. I mean, that's cutting his little bonus in half. So and then to top it all off, his second active ability, he throws those spike things across the ground. They can go through shields. We all know, we've seen Jabali. So a lot of changes for him. If you want to see all the specific numbers, go ahead and read that for yourselves. Gloria. So Gloria, her passive ability, it got a speed boost. So normally when you're out of combat for a few seconds with Gloria and you have her passive, it'll kick in and it will give you those little trails behind you when you run, and it will make you 25% faster. Now it is going to make you 35% faster, which is cool. I was kind of wondering what this means. Her first active ability damage went from 460 to 480. So I'm thinking that means whenever she switches to her rifle will deal more damage, because that's her first active ability. So I'm guessing that's what that means. So her rifle is going to deal more damage. Her ult cost went from 5,500 to 3,500. So you're going to be able to throw more of those quicksand bombs. The passive recharge rate went down from 70 to 20. And then her new second ability, she throws an invisible mine that actually knocks people, and you basically can boot people off maps. You can boot people off points. And it explodes twice and kind of pushes enemies around. The cool thing to note is that it is invisible. So never know when it's just going to pop up on you. That's pretty cool. Shell. So Shell's really interesting. Basically, her gun does ramp damage. So the longer you hold that beam on someone, it ramps up to level 3, dealing a certain amount of damage per tick. So those numbers all got decreased. So it went from 200 to 300 to 400. Now it's from 200 to 280 to 360. However, it happens faster. So to get to that 400 damage took 0.64 seconds. Now to get to the 360 damage, it takes 0.48 seconds. So it ramps faster, but it does less damage. Reduce the cooldown on her main weapon from 0.8 seconds to 0.6 seconds. What I'm thinking this means, because this is also kind of a little one of those I don't really know, there's not enough context. When you activate her ability and you kind of go into your little glitch mode, when you come out of it, I think that's the timer it takes to like use your main weapon again. So that got reduced so she can basically ready back into the battle faster. Ultimate ability, passive recharge rate from 70 to 20. Like I said, you see that kind of a lot in here. And then her passive ability, regeneration, went from 60 to 40. So she's not going to heal as much as she's dealing damage. So that's a little bit of a nerf. And then as far as her second ability, she basically, when she activates it, it puts a circle around her and then another circle that kind of like protrudes from her. And when those two circles meet, it does this like blast effect. And what that effect does is it deals damage to anyone in its range, and it also reduces their speed. So you're going to have a little bit of like a speed reduction with Shell. So I think that's a really cool change for sure. As far as Labula is concerned, he's another hero that went from damage to support. Basically, the gist of it all is he deals less damage. He can shoot his teammates to heal them. And then as far as some other things, his passive kind of got a little bit reworked. Not necessarily how it works, but like the numbers it generates on that temporary armor. And then he actually went from 2,500 health and shield to 2,000 health and shield. So he's not going to be as strong, or at least have as much health. His ultimate damage got a little bit nerfed from 120 to 100. And then the ultimate actually can still heal teammates because now he can heal teammates by shooting them. But it does less healing than he does. And then the passive recharge rate went lower. The charge for damage enemies, I didn't really understand what this was, but it probably has something to do with how his passive or how his healing works with his ultimate. And then as far as his new second ability, he basically can summon this like shield, and it has a circle radius, and anyone in that shield that is you or your allies, it prevents them from dying. Now the cool thing to note in this is that it can be destroyed. So you can actually kill this, which will kind of benefit you. So basically when Labula pops his little immortality field, you can actually just focus, kill it, and kind of stop him in his tracks. So this is a good change. But this is a really cool second ability. I'm actually really hyped about that. So Immortality Field is now in T3, which is pretty cool. Iris also got a big rework, just like Jabali. Her gun went from a fully automatic like SMG to like a single shot, more like Skatey. So these are just all the numbers as far as how long, reload, how much ammo it has, the fire rate change, the bullet spread, and all that stuff. Her first active got a cooldown reduction, so it's going to happen more frequently. The effects of her first active are slower, or are lowered, so she's not going to heal as much. One thing I noticed right here, self and allied heroes got changed with her first active to now teammate heroes. So I don't know if that means she can't use it on herself to heal herself anymore. Something I want to test, but we'll see how that works. As far as her ultimate, it costs less to activate her ultimate. And also it heals for less. If you guys do the math on this right here, this line, it actually heals for less. It's normally it like pulses 9 times. Now it's going to pulse every 0.05 seconds for a total of 8 seconds. And as you guys can see right here, it reduced its healing amount from 2,000 to 1,000. So 9 times at 2,000 would be 18,000 healing, or 8 seconds for 2 times a second, which would be 16 times at 1,000. So 1,000 times 16 would be 16,000. So it's going to heal for 2,000 less, from 18,000 healing to 16,000 healing, but it's going to heal more frequently. So that's kind of cool. She also, has the ability to use it more often. And then the passive recharge rate got reduced. And then, oh, I'm not far enough. The passive recharge rate got reduced right there. There's the healing amounts. And then as far as her second active, you guys know, basically when you tag someone with it, an enemy with it, they take more damage. And I believe that is 25% more damage. So Hunter did not get changed pretty much at all. The only thing really on here is that he got a second active ability. He basically drops a little healing field, and it heals over time everyone inside its radius. That is either you or your allies. Pretty simple, nothing crazy. Johnny Jet now has this cool little spray can that he can throw at walls, and when an enemy gets into its radius, it'll shoot them and deal damage. It's kind of similar to like Symmetra's little bots that have like the beams from Overwatch. The thing I wanted to note with Johnny's section is it says first active ability, which would be his little flip into an invisible puddle. Maximum area on the ground from 2 to 1. Only thing that makes sense is that he now only can do 1 puddle as opposed to 2. And that puddle will only heal from 400 per second to now 200 per second. So 1 puddle and it heals for 50% less per second. I would say that's a pretty hardcore nerf for Johnny Jet. As far as his second ability, like I said, you throw a spray can at the wall or at the ground, wherever, it'll stick to the wall, and then it deals damage over time. Anyone inside its radius, any enemy that is. It also reduces their speed, so keep that in mind too. You can kind of slow people down with it too. So, and that little can be shot. Also keep that in mind. You kill it. Hua Ling did get a nerf. Not as much as I thought she was going to get, but we kind of expected her to get a nerf. So her base health went from 3,500 to 3,000. Her damage of her bow got slightly reduced. You guys can see the numbers there, kind of a little lower. Her first active ability, or her snare bomb, now the slowing effect went from 0.7 to 0.4. So it's going to slow you for less amount of slowing. It also does less damage by 500. It went from 1,500 to 1,000. So you're not going to be able to deal nearly as much damage with your snare bomb. As far as her passive ability, that's, you know, the passive recharge rate went from 70 to 20. So she's not going to have as frequent of her ultimate. And then as far as her second ability goes, basically she does a little backflip and she turns invisible. So that's pretty cool. It's going to get you out of fights. You can kind of save yourself a little bit. It doesn't say on here that it has like a duration of how long you're invisible. So I don't know if you can just indefinitely stay invisible, but it does say reveal yourself when attacking. So I'd imagine there's going to be a cooldown. It's just not in the patch notes. So Ruby's going to be really cool. I think Ruby is going to be pretty decent. Basically, a bunch of stuff happened to her. So she got more health overall, more shields overall. Her weapon range is getting reduced from 100 meters to 25. So she's going to be like an up-close fighter. However, the fall off went from 50% fall off from 20 to 40 meters to now 50% fall off from 20 to 25 meters. So she's going to have low range, and after that 25% or that 20 meter range, she's going to have 50% chance or 50% fall off in damage. So she's really up in the fight, but they did increase the damage of her weapons by 100. So that's cool. Her active ability, or her barrier, it also got a bump in health. It went from 3,000 to 4,500. So her health, or her shield, is going to have a little bit more health. And then her second active ability, you basically like toss this little ball of cards, and it does like an AoE stun, and it also knocks them back and deals damage. So it's going to just be more, she's going to do more things, and she's going to have more utility. So I think that's actually pretty good. Pretty good change for sure. Ultimate ability, the passive recharge rate. I didn't really fully understand this, but basically what I'm gathering is that she's going to passively, passively recharge her ultimate slower. If that's what I'm gathering. I'm not exactly sure what this means. The numbers were a little confusing. They're fractions, but regardless, Ruby, I think, is going to be pretty solid. All right, Diggy. I think Diggy's going to be really good. I'm going to be honest. I think Diggy's going to be super good. So basically, they kind of changed her weapon damage. So it was 260 times 6. Now it is 130 times 10. So it's significantly less damage. She's going to have an additional bleed effect on her active ability. So when she's in shark mode, I'm guessing whenever you like come out of shark mode, she's going to like do a bleeding effect. I don't know if that's the case now or not. I don't play Diggy, but regardless, that's there. Her second active ability, basically, for those that play Overwatch, it's like Reaper. You can up to 35 meters. You can place a teleport. And then once you you can hold and pick where you want to go. Once you let go, you'll teleport to that up to 35 meters. So she's going to be able to get behind people and do flanking stuff. It's going to be really fun. Her ultimate ability, her little dolphin swim thing, goes from 860 to 2000 damage. So that's really good. The knock up height, I think you can actually like knock people with the ultimate and it throws them in the air. Well, not anymore. They took away the knock, so you can't really like push people around. The health regeneration went from none with her ultimate to 160 per second. So her ultimate's actually going to heal her while she's in it. So you can kind of use that to your advantage. And then her passive ability says health regeneration amounts from 400 per second to 320 per second. So that whole, when she goes into shark mode and she heals, it's going to be a little less. So we finally have answers for Judix. So Judix's second active ability, whenever you toss that little stun grenade, it will reduce your opponent's movement speed and aiming speed for a short period of time. So that's what it does. It basically slows them down, and also they can't like look around as fast. So that's good. But that's really the only change for her, other than, you know, her passive is just going to, or her ultimate is going to passively recharge slower. Chemist, we all know how Chemist is in 5v5. One thing is she can't heal herself. Her main weapon does less damage. Her explosion damage, or like the splash damage, does less damage. So basically no DPS Chemist anymore. Her passive, out of combat HP recovery is 300 per second. It's kind of what a lot of the healers have, is that when they're not fighting, they passively heal. So her main weapon, teammates and self, whenever you're shooting your main weapon at you, 200 per second lasts for 2 seconds. That is now just going to be for teammates, and it is 400 per second and lasts 1 second. She cannot heal herself. So that's kind of like going to make Chemist not as good. She can't heal herself, so not as good. She already can't heal herself in 5v5, but I just don't think that's very good. Passive, the first active ability effect. So teammates and self, or I just read that. The first active ability, the single shot explosion, went from 400 to 300. So her little like burst thing does less damage. Her first active ability, healing values. So teammates 400 per hit, self 300 per hit. Now it's teammates 300 per hit and self 200 per hit. So she can still heal herself with her first ability. However, that healing is reduced both for yourself and your teammates. As far as her second active ability, so the new thing, basically an anti-heal. You shoot a little bomb. Anyone who gets caught in its little explosion radius basically can't receive healing for a short period of time. Her ultimate abilities, cooldown, or I guess cost, got reduced to 4,000 from 6,000. Her ultimate, she cannot cast it on herself, and if there's no target that gets locked onto it, it just stops. And then this as well, the passive recharge rate of her ultimate went from 70 to 20. So, but yeah, I think Chemist is going to be in a pretty bad spot. I don't think Chemist is going to be nearly as good as she was. As for Yaw, her first active ability damage went from 1,400 to 1,300. So I think you're going to have to get your enemies like just a slight bit weaker as far as health in order to actually like dash and finish them off. Her ultimate ability, the twin blade damage went from 1,400 to 1,300. So her little ultimate fan blades you throw just are going to deal less damage. The ultimate damage reduction went from 0.25. She had a damage reduction when she was in it. No longer there. So Yaw got a little bit of a nerf. And then as far as her second active ability, she puts the little shield up and she can deflect bullets. We all know that. Fort. I think Fort's going to be a menace, by the way, guys. The main weapon damage, he went from 500 damage to 340. So he got another damage nerf with his gun. As well as the explosion damage from 500 to 340. So that's kind of a bummer. However, the explosion damage fall off from 1 to 3 for 10% is now 1 to 2 for 87.5%. So he's not really going to be shooting super far at all. Like the damage fall off is going to be significant. But I think this is kind of a cool little thing. His barrier went from 6,000 health to 12,000 health, so that's pretty cool. And then his ultimate cost went from 6,000 to 4,200. And then, of course, when he activates his little second ability, it mitigates damage taken over the period of time, and you're immune to all controls. So you're basically like immune to like Judix is blind or her new little stun grenade, stuff like that. So I still, even though this sounds like a bunch of nerfs, I still think Ford is going to be really, really good, just strictly because you want to have that tank up in the fight and just kind of staying alive on point. So it's not necessarily nerfs what I see here. I see it more as like his playstyle has changed, if that makes sense. But I think Ford's going to be pretty good. Gatlin, we can no longer do the ka-chow with Gatlin. She no longer has her speed buff that she was given at the beginning of this season. So her active ability or her turret mode got a bump in damage. So instead of 380, it now does 450. However, she does lose her little speed boost whenever she jumps in and out of her uber charge. As for her second new ability, it lifts the restrictions and greatly increases the fire rates, but you're unable to deal critical damage. So basically you have infinite ammo and it's 100% faster, but you can't do critical damage. Her ultimate ability, the shield, the bubble shield, her health, the health of the actual shield went from 8,000 to 15,000, and it lasts 10 seconds now. So you can pop that bubble shield. It's going to have more health and it's going to last for 10 seconds. I think this is really cool. I think Gatlin, again, is just going to kind of be different. She was different with the whole speed boost thing. I think she's going to be more of a defender now, if anything. So I think Gatlin's going to be really fun. As far as Kelvin has his new little ability where he turns into the snowman. His cooldowns for his snowball got increased by 1 second, so he's not going to be able to regenerate those snowballs quite as often. However, he turns into an invincible snowman that restores HP, and you can also cancel the transformation early. So he just kind of jumps into a little snowman, he kind of jiggles around, and he restores HP. And then, of course, his ultimate's passive recharge rate went from 70 to 20. Kelvin didn't really get a whole lot of changes, but I think he's going to be okay. As for Vincent, he got this new passive ability, he got this new like second ability where he throws a little like version of himself out. It's pretty cool. His passive ability, the detection radius, went from 80 meters to 40 meters. This is a huge buff. I'm sorry, T3 God. I'm so sorry, but you can't see people through walls nearly as far. Basically what that means. As for his first active ability, the cooldown after decloaking went from 0 seconds to 3 seconds. So that's a net nerf. It'll take you longer to get that cooldown back. His second active ability. Hi, Harvey. Here's my cat. You guys want to say hi to my cat? Hello, everyone. I'm a cat. Let's go off the desk. Sorry, I had to move my cat. Anyways, so his passive ability, the health regeneration after defeating an enemy. You full healed when you killed someone. Now it's only going to give him 1,000 health. So another kind of nerf to Vincent, but I think he's still going to be okay. The passive ability, the cooldown recovery upon defeating an enemy, you would have your passive or your active ability cool down. Now it does not cool down at all. So that's really tough because you kind of can't really like repeat the cycle of your stuff quite as often. My cat's still on my desk. However, I still think it's like that is probably the hardest thing to him. That really hurts him. So we'll see how it plays. However, you can have his ability more often because it costs less, and the recharge rate of his ability, of his ultimate, is 70. Went from 70 to 20. So kind of the same as everyone else. But I don't know. I think this is a pretty big nerf to Vincent, but not everyone has him, so it's kind of okay. I don't know. We're going to have to play with it and see how it works, but I think that the cloaking thing where he like casts a mirror image of himself, I think it's going to just be cool. So we'll see. I'll play with him. I'll kind of see how it feels, but all right, guys, last but not least is Fade, the newest hero to this season. Fade got some pretty cool stuff. So His main weapon, the explosive damage, was 1700 with no additional damage on hit. However, now it's going to do 1200 damage with 500 additional damage on hit. So it's the same amount of damage. I just think that they're kind of changing the mechanics of how his cannonballs worked. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that all kind of plays out. His main weapon fall off from 1 to 3.5 meters at a 0.25 per meter is now from 1 to 2 meters at 0.875 per meter. Not exactly sure what that means, but I'm guessing it's just changing the damage fall off of his cannonballs. And then as far as his new ability, he basically can cast a little bubble shield in an area, and it's going to just help kind of block damage for your opponents and just kind of overall do more stuff. I think it's going to be kind of cool. You can kind of like pop your shield on your teammates and then run in and kind of do his fade things and still like help your shield or help your teammates with a shield and kind of overall be a Vanguard hero. So my cat wanted to come say hi to y'all. He won't leave me alone. So we're just going to have Harvey on the desk here. But I think Fade's changes are going to be interesting. I kind of want to test how it all works as far as the damage output and whatnot. So pretty cool stuff. And then some just quick little wrap-ups. The new map, Old Medina. It's a really cool map. It's a combination of control and payload escort. So the attacking team will control a point. Once they cap that point, they will then create basically just a payload escort map. So it's sort of similar to how Overwatch does their stuff. Elephant Astana got increased in size, specifically for 5v5. There's a couple of game mode changes. So like that Vanguard Blessing buff will take over in free-for-all, which is kind of interesting. A couple of 5v5 changes. There's just, they're adding new maps and whatnot. One thing I did want to mention, and I think this is kind of cool, there's an all-new advanced mode option for advanced, completely skill-based PvP matchmaking. This is strictly in 5v5. This might also be in 3v3, but I did not see this in the patch notes under me for the 3v3 section. But basically, when you turn this little advanced mode on, there will be 0 bots assigned to the match. However, matchmaking will take longer. So basically, you can't get bots in your game when you turn this on. However, matchmaking is going to take a lot longer to find a match. So I think that's kind of cool. I think that's really interesting. Basically, you're guaranteeing that you're going to play against other players. Pretty cool stuff there. As for some of the other just kind of really quick things at the end, there's a couple of changes to 3v3 in the sense of having the second abilities in 3v3. We're only going to have Team Deathmatch, Free-For-All, and Crystal Assault. Some of the health values of the Crystal and Crystal Assault have changed. The Coin Rush game type is going to be exclusively for weekends, so I think that's a really cool change. And one big thing that I saw a lot of people asking about was controller support. They do now control button mapping for second active abilities on a controller. So all you controller players out there, that's pretty cool. There's some new UI stuff as far as what screens look like. Like I said, you guys can check all this out for yourself. And then as far as some other stuff, there's going to be this limited time hero tryout event. So basically they'll provide all players in the game with a Vanguard, a damage, a flank, and a support hero, and it will allow you to try them. So there's some heroes out there that you don't have. You'll be able to try them out. So I'd imagine a lot of people are going to be able to try out Vincent now, which is cool. But this is a cool event. I think this is going to be really interesting. Kind of gives you the ability to kind of test things that you don't currently have. So that's really cool. As for some final words, they just do mention that the game is expected to have bugs. This is a super massive update. This is the biggest update they've done since the launch of the game. They're completely revamping everything. And so just expect there to be bugs. It is unfortunate, but that's just what it is when it comes to developing video games. There is going to be bugs, especially with all of the stuff that they're adding into the game. So just be patient. If you do want to join their Discord, it is right here in this article. And like I said, this article is in the description. You guys can join in their Discord. If you run into any issues after the update, make sure you just go drop in the suggestions section on their Discord. Say, hey, I found this bug or this or that or whatever. You can also let me know in my comments. I can pass it on to the developers, as well as if you guys want to join my personal Discord. We all have fun in there. We talk about the game. I kind of go over some really cool stuff behind the scenes and whatnot. So if you guys want to join any of the Discords and let me know what's going on, that'd be super cool. But I will talk to you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a comment down below what you're most excited about with this update. I'm just excited to get back into the grind of YouTube and bringing you guys more content. There's going to be a ton of stuff. I have like 15 videos planned from now until like next season. So get ready for it. I'm going to try to pump out as much as I possibly can. We're going to cover everything. I'm going to probably do like tier lists and all of the different lucky draw skins. We're going to go over so much more stuff. And speaking of lucky draw skins, I should have a video out after this one with the new Iris skin. So stay tuned for that as well. But catch you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, peace out, guys.